Okay, hello, good morning everybody and teacher. Okay, so first of all, we are from group 6 and my name is Jing Han. Our group member we have Pak Tze Ern, Teoh Jin Lun and Yuan Hong. So right now I'll do an introduction about League of Legends. So what is League of Legends? It is a multiplayer online battle arena game created by Rio Game in 2009. So how this game works? They will have two teams of 5 players each, engaged in a player versus player combat, while they were defending and occupying each of their half of the battlefield. So it is a very successful game. According to research, we have 150 million of players all around the world, and they will have 8 million of occurring users playing at the same time. So after introduction about the League of Legends, what we are going to organize is a League of Legends World Championship final round in 2027. It is a yearly worldwide competition run by Rio Game, and for this year, 2022, will be the 12th championship. So this competition will be hosted in Singapore. It is because Singapore has numerous of e-sport publishers and headquarters in Singapore. For example, we have Blazer Entertainment, Electronic Arts, Garena, and Razer Riot Game. And according to the eSport Insider, we will have 5 million total population of Singaporean with 0.6 million population of eSport audience. It's a small but fairly significant audience. And besides, Singapore have eSport Association, SGEA. It is an association serves as the certifying authorities and guardians of the e-sport in Singapore. So that's all for my sharing. Now I'll pass to Tze Ern to talk about Singapore.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Tze Ern. So now I'm going to talk about why Singapore is the most suitable country for us to host these competitions. So first and foremost, Singaporeans spend a total of 7.44 hours each week playing video games, which is also the highest in Asia Pacific. So furthermore, Singapore is also the first country to publish a League of Legends, which is one of the online games for portable devices. So from this info, you can know that Singapore is very obsessed with video games, which is benefit for us to host these competitions. So next, Singapore has also a sufficient economic power to host these competitions. Why? This is supported by the international TI, which is also the largest global competitions for Dota 2 will be hosted in Singapore during October 2022. Right, so next, as we can see, Singapore has also the highest internet speed in the world at more than a rate of 200. To have comparison, like other countries like Malaysia, Thailand and Indonesia, they have only around 150. So we have also a very good venue for us to host this competition in Singapore. For example, you can look at the photo from the left, which is the Singapore Suntec Convention Center. It's used for hosting a lot of mega events for eSport from the past. Okay, so in Singapore, hybrid event has been very popular for a while, and also Singapore is also a tech-savvy country, which means that we are able to host a very good hybrid event in Singapore. For example, we have like personalized RSVP, which has always been used in company events or social gathering to note down in invitations in order to keep track of the attendees before the events. And we have the end-to-end on-site and virtual event solutions. And the third will be having an interactive features, which allows an event that brings all the attendees to really be able to enjoy watching the competitions and not just watching live in platforms like Facebook and YouTube. And the final will be a detailed attendance and login reports. Okay. So as we know that Singapore is a very well-developed transportation system that surpasses New York and Paris, which are charging for a reasonable price, which allow that all the attendants and contestants can be travel around in Singapore. And we believe that this competition will attract a lot of people from all around the world, which also having like special requirement for the food. And Singapore is having a various restaurant in the country, which including halal, vegan, and more. All right. So yeah. Okay, last but not least, Singapore's willingness towards volunteering will be higher compared to other countries in Asia. which means that we can be running this competition smoothly with enough manpower. Alright, that's will be my part, and I'll pass the floor to Jin Lun. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm Jing Han. I'll talk about the location and timeline. So first we go to the locations. The location that we choose is Singapore Suntec Convention Center, as Tze Ern mentioned just now. Why we choose this? Why we choose this place? Because this place outlook is good, right? Because it has been held the Wild Rift final before. What's the Wild Rift final? Wild Rift is the LL mobile version. Then the effect and the result is quite good, so we believe that the same place will bring the good result as well, right? So let's scroll down, move to the timeline. So the first year is year 2023. So what we're gonna do is we will find the major sponsorship. So what is sponsorship means to the event? Is money, is fundraising. Fun, if we have fun, we can do anything after that, right? So in first year we're gonna fundraising. So in estimates, we will find 30 major sponsorship to get the funds, so that we can move to year 2024 to upgrade our facility. So let's go to the year 2024 is travel facility build. So the travel facility upgrade, we will upgrade the hotel, the tourism spot, and the Singapore Suntec Convention Center and the transportation system. So what we're gonna update, the first is the hotel. Okay, I give you some example, like the hotel. When the tourism is a lot of tourism coming, this will a word is jam. Like the hotel, we can upgrade to the self-checking hotel. Like the Alibaba have come with a machine, then people can just book everything on the online, then just scan the QR code, they can check in with themselves, right? So I think this will be solve the jam problems. Like another example we're given is the transportation. Just now Tze Ern has mentioned that the event have to go hybrid, right? So that's the major transportation in Singapore is the bus. So we actually can upgrade the bus to the hybrid, like the China. The China is change their bus to hybrid. Why we choose the hybrid bus? The e-bus. Because e-bus can fetch more people in the same time and with the lower cost. So this will be a good to the event. So let's go now. Okay. Let's move on. In year 2025, we will come up with a contingency plan. We learned before that contingency plan is important to the event, right? So we have to prepare the contingency plan 3 years before the event, right? So what is the contingency plan? The first is the second best choice for the venue, in case the venue is broke, destroyed. Okay. The next will be electric issue. The third is the internet issue and F&B issue. So the most important contingency plan in this event is electric issue. As we know that we are organizing the e-sport event, e-sport, electric sport, right? So electric is the most important thing to support the event, right? So maybe the organizer can come up with a large power bank to support the event. Like if, in case the electric have cut down, has down, we can prepare for 4 hours, 5 hours to tahan. Okay. So move to the year 2026 is rehearsal for the event. So there's a lot of things to rehearsal, like the opening ceremony, halftime entertainments, layout for the event, and seat arrangement of the event. So the example we're given is like the opening ceremony show. So we have to rehearsal like what we're gonna show and how many people will participate in the show, all the stuff. Like the halftime entertainment is sound like the lucky draw, or what will be given in lucky draw and how we do the lucky draw, all the stuff. Okay, let's go to the last year, which is year 2027. So in this stage, what we're gonna do is the marketing phase. So all the activities about the marketing. Like we're doing the final preparation for the event. What we're gonna do is ticket selling, event promoting, sales marketing, advertising. All the action we've done is like to attract people to come to join our event. So we actually can profit from this and get a lot of benefit, awareness, all the stuff through the last phase. That's called marketing phase, right? That's all for my part. So I will pass to Yuan Hong to continue.
Alright, taking into account for the economic power, the world-class facilities, the socially welcome, and having the achievable timeline, we are confident that Singapore is able to host this competition very well. So now let's discover what are the benefits that Singapore will gain when hosting this competition. The first directions that we are looking into is the economic impact. This competition is able to stimulate the economic growth of Singapore by providing employment opportunities. This competition requires years of investment and planning, which will follow by employment opportunities across different industries. The industry will include the event planning industry, as we will host this competition, the architectural industry, as we will renovate the stadium, the marketing industry to promote this event and Singapore itself. Last but not least, the hospitality industry and food and beverage industry to cater the demands of the people who come into Singapore for this competition. Next, this competition will also bring revenue to Singapore for both short-term revenue and long-term revenue. For the short-term revenue is the few days of the competition. For example, when Shanghai hosted this competition back in 2020, this competition has helped Shanghai to generate $4.6 million and 483 tax revenue in just one day competition, despite that during that time is having the travel and tourism restrictions. While for the long-term revenue, this competition will attract millions of viewers. In 2019, it attracts 44 million of viewers. In 2020, 46.07 million. And for 2021, which is last year, it attracts 73.9 million of viewers, which is double from the previous year. This is able to raise the Singapore profile immediately. Have any one of you heard Reykjavik, this country? No, right? This is actually a capital city of Iceland, which hosts the LOL competition last year. According to our research, the number of tourists to this country has increased 94% after hosting this competition. Imagine when this is happening in Singapore, how great the impact will be. So even though Singapore is already a very well-known country, but this exposure can act as a marketing tool to help Singapore to remind people to revisit Singapore and thus bring the long-term revenue to Singapore. The next directions that we are looking into is the social impact. Even though the government of Singapore didn't ban e-sport, but they did not provide any support to the e-sport industry as well. This has led to Singapore only well known for hosting e-sport competition, but not the country that produce e-sport players, professional e-sport players. When we compare Singapore to other Asian countries like South Korea and China, which their government would bring a strong support to the e-sport industry by first recognizing the e-sport player as a professional job, and second, coming up with the law and regulation to protect the e-sport players. When the government giving them the support, we can see the e-sport player from these two countries has continued to strive for medal in the world-class e-sport competition. Thus, we hope that this competition will influence how the Singapore government view the e-sport industry and actually come up with law and regulations that build the ecosystem of e-sport in Singapore. For sure, there might be potential consequences when Singapore hosts this competition. The first consequences will be violence might happen. This is because they are being too emotional or being out of control, especially when the team they support has lost the game. However, according to our deeper research, we found out that another reason for them being out of control is because they have lost the money for gamble for this competition. According to our research, this competition is the top 3 games which has the biggest volume in the world. And the number of the betting player has continued to increase, and the amount of money they gamble has also increased. Therefore, a lot of people will gamble in this competition, and there will be high possibilities that violence might happen during this competition. The second consequences is the cost of professional equipment. In order to host this competition, Singapore government will need to invest in a lot of professional equipment. However, different e-sport competition requires different professional equipment. Like for this competition, it requires the professional PC, keyboard, CPU. While for the mobile gaming competition, it requires expensive mobile. While for the car race competition, it requires the full set of car e-sport accessories. Therefore, all the accessories that could be used in this competition could not be used in that competition. And all the money invested will be wasted. In conclusion, Singapore is a really suitable country to host this competition as they have a lot of experience in hosting all those mega esport events. Even though there might be potential consequences that might happen in Singapore, but we strongly believe that this is part of the process for Singapore to being the international esport hub, not only in Asia, but in the world. That's all for our presentation. Thank you. Now, this is our reference list. Yeah. So, do you guys have any questions?
I have a question. Alright, what do you think if Malaysia beat this event as well? What do you think can make Singapore stand out from Malaysia?
Very good questions. So, if Malaysia also coming out for this esport event, I would say that Singapore have two extra advantage compared to Malaysia. First is the adoption of the technology, because when we compare how fast Singapore and Malaysia adopt to a new technology, 5G. Singapore has adopted 5G years ago, but until now Malaysia is still at a very immature stage. So for Singapore and esport industry, Singapore has been more mature in terms of the technology. The second extra advantage will be the experience in hosting esport event. We can see that there will be average 10 to 15 esport events happening in Singapore every year, but in Malaysia, only 2 to 3 events. So in terms of the experience that Singapore have, there will be more than Malaysia. So when comparing Malaysia to Singapore, adoption of technology and the experience of Singapore is better than in Malaysia.
Thanks.
Thank you. Exactly.
Any questions?
Thank you.